And done.
Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, and assorted creatures living underneath bridges. Welcome back to Installation-00, Session 2. I am your storyteller, Arcadus Vaxel, and with me today we have... Alf. The old man.
Oh, yep.
Ra.
I'm here for the butts.
Of course you are. Super Mushu.
Quotes already.
Slacker.
Hello.
And Strider.
Oh God, for Perturabo! Aye.
But plenty of demons.
Of course, in robots, yes. In any case. Unfortunately, Sergeant won't be joining us today. We don't know where he is. We assume something happened, but whatever. We choose to forge onward regardless.
I blame the Tau irregardless.
Of course. Where we last left our heroes, quote, question mark? We were introduced... We were introduced to Mike, a warrant officer and technician who spent the entirety of the Human Covenant War in a coma and has only been awakened now at the conflict's end. Thanks to the efforts of a life worker Huragok, Mike's coma was cured, only for him to be promptly ordered right back into the fold. Ordered to muster with his new fire team and stuck loafing around for the next 11 days as the Shadow of Intent makes its way to the Ark, we rejoin our heroes: Mike, the human technician; Arsharam, the Sanshayum prelate; Alf 119, the Spartan 2 super soldier; Rako Valkam, the Sanghili major; Jason G226, or Hunter, the Spartan 3 super soldier; Zapota, the Umgalak Golo miner; and Kevin, the ODST medic. All right. Rako.
Present.
It's barely been an hour after the Fleet Master took his leave and after the Shadow of Intent went into Slipspace. And you have been bombarded with questions by your human liaison, the people you're supposed to be the liaison for. And primary among those questions is, where do I find weapons? Where's the target range? The drill... What's the firing range? That's the word. You have to ask what a firing range is, because you've never heard that term before, but you figure it out. And it's only a few minutes later that Fleet Master Vidai contacts you through your HUD again. And in it, he essentially orders you to procure a weapon for the technician, just to make sure he's not useless. Let me just roll a dice real quick. Something about that seems odd to you, but you don't really question it. So, first thing you think to do is to bring everyone to the Weaponsmaster aboard the Shadow of Intent, or one of the Weaponsmasters. And so you take Mike the technician, Kevin the ODST, and the two demons to the armory. And when you get there, you see something that looks like this. And in there, you see this guy. Let me just roll something again here. And Rako, you have no idea who this person is. All you know is that they are the Weaponsmaster. What do you do?
As I enter with the humans behind me, I give a quick, respectful bow to the weapons master and say, I require at least one weapon for... looks towards this human here. so you may be armed, and to the nearest area where we can practice weapons drills until we reach the Ark.
As you enter and say that, the Sanghili before you in ultra-white armor, he's currently bent over a computer, seemingly looking at something, and he turns around and looks at you, and the moment he sees the humans, he promptly yells, "By Theod's sacred lanterns, what in all the hells is this?"
Shipmaster's orders. If you want to ask him, you're more than welcome to ring him up.
His reaction is my entire existence.
The weapons master he sort of grabs his own head, his own helmet, and just, you can see him sort of calculating in his head something, you're not certain, but he eventually just sort of shrugs tiredly and asks you, Rako, which of these humans needs a weapon?
Again, he will point at Mike and say, I think only he requires a weapon. I believe the two demons and the smaller not demon have their own gear and weaponry.
All right, the Ultra sort of waves you over to him, Mike.
Yeah, I'll go up to this massive walking, talking construction of my pure, like, horror movie imagination, and, yeah, I'll just stand there for a second.
This guy, this thing, you can't see its face, if it even has a face. All you can see are a pair of bright blue glowing eye lenses, you think, in his helmet. And this creature sort of looks you over and says, "What sort of weapons are you experienced in, human?"
Assault rifles, shotguns, pistols, pretty much the entire range. Don't hand me anything weird.
You hear a sound that it's almost like a scoff, but it's also a bit of a chuckle as well. And the guy sort of turns around and promptly taps a few buttons on this weird-looking computer. It's like built into the wall, Mike. It's got this bright purple screen thing, and you can barely read what's going on there. You assume you have to be really close to it to actually read it, but this guy taps on the computer a few dozen times, and in the center of the room, in that picture I posted earlier, a portion of the floor raises up and reveals essentially what seems to be a glowing blue edifice, you think? It's very strange looking, Mike. All of you who are human, you have no idea what the hell you're looking at. It's very strange, but this white armored elite sort of walks over to it, and you see the circular thing hanging from the ceiling in that picture. He walks up to that and starts opening up that sphere and fiddling with its insides. It's very strange. And eventually...
This is legitimately not the strangest thing I've seen today by, like, a high measure, so I'm just like, I'm kind of numb to it all.
Yeah, of course. And this elite sort of... Eventually, you realize he's getting out some weapons, and he eventually brings some out, and he presents you, Mike, with 3 choices. The first is this. The word that this elite uses to describe this weapon is... You have no idea what the hell he's saying. It sounds vaguely like Jikri, but essentially you are informed that it's called a needler by humans. And the elite What sort of reaction do you have to this?
Weird.
All right. The elite sort of.
It's just weird. What the hell?
It is a very common sidearm to us and the grunts.
You guys don't have multi-tools, but you do have this. This thing looks like a crab claw. I had a baby with Freddy Krueger.
I think it'd be smarter if we gave him a plasma pistol first.
The elite sort of makes another scoffing sound and sort of ignores you, Hunter, for the moment. And he essentially tries explaining how the weapon works to you, Mike. And he says, this weapon fires around 26 ionized Sudanese crystals in one of your minutes, I believe. The point is, if enough of these crystals puncture a target in the same spot, it will explode.
Sounds okay.
And after that, the elite then brings out this weapon. To you, Mike, it's about as long as your torso is tall. It looks vaguely like an assault rifle.
Yeah, this looks more like my speed, even though it looks like a crab claw. Are crab claws a weapons design function choice?
The elite sort of looks at you for a minute and he just raises a hand. And when you see his hand, you realize, oh wait, 2 fingers and 2 thumbs.
Yay.
In any case, he lifts up this thing, which he's able to hold like an assault rifle for a human. And it's like, he seems to activate it, and between the 2 prongs at the front, an arc of electric-looking energy sparks to life, and it makes a humming sound. And he explains to you, this is called a plasma repeater. It fires around, shall we say, 280, 300 plasma bolts per minute.
Yeah, I think I'll take that one.
The elite sort of puts it on its housing where he got the weapon from, and he then finally pulls out a third weapon, even though he knows you've got your heart set on that thing. He pulls out this. This is a concussion rifle. It fires 60 explosive plasma rounds per minute. It is like one of your grenade launchers.
Okay. Yeah, I've changed my mind this one. If I'm going to be firing something that looks like this, and yeah, I'd rather it, do what I needed to do. And yeah, I'll be focused on this one.
All right. The elite sort of he shoves the concussion rifle into your chest, and as he then puts away the first 2 weapons, and then he turns to you, Rako, and asks, "Will there be anything else?"
Well, we might need to give him a special helmet so he can read the ammo counter for the concussion rifle and any other weapons we may encounter on the Ark. But other than that, I think he is good and set on weapons. I will be here later to pick up whatever gear I require. Likely just a plasma rifle or a repeater, a few grenades, and maybe a carbine if I'm feeling up to more ranged combat.
The elite sort of nods. He glances at the group of humans as you, Slacker, are. You've managed to find a plasma pistol somewhere. The elite sort of realize, wait, that guy didn't walk in here with that. Where did he get that from? I didn't put out any. You have a plasma pistol now, is the point. And he's not sure where you got it from, but The elite sort of looks at the group of humans, and he looks back to you, Rako, and asks, "Why are you playing caretaker to these humans, brother?"
Shipmaster's order I'm to be their liaison, I guess some kind of diplomat and commander, maybe? He says, kind of shrugging his shoulders, and then adds, I am to make sure we don't kill each other before we get to the target and capture it alive and bring it back to the ship for questioning by either the shipmaster or Lord Arbiter himself.
The elite sort of looks at humans again as Mike is sort of hefting the concussion rifle and testing how easy it is to lug around. Mike, the weapon it weighs like 12 pounds, which seems really heavy to you, but you keep in mind that a lot of the aliens around here are very strong. And so the Ultra, he shrugs again and pounds a fist to his chest and says, "Good luck, brother. These are strange times."
No shit.
He was talking to Rako, but
It doesn't matter.
Trust me, human, the feeling is mutual.
So, after that, you, Rako, given that you were asked where the firing range is, quote unquote, the only place you can think of that is similar to that would be a location called the Dokrai, which is spelt like this. Hang on. And it's a very difficult concept or word to explain the meaning of to the humans, so you just decide to bring them all there.
If you all will follow me, I will bring you to an area where you can train with your weapons and hopefully not harm yourselves, and to one of the holographic and make Mark here a helmet capable of reading Covenant script, or at least linking up with the weapons ammo counter.
And you all follow?
Yeah, of course. At the same
Yeah.
time, I'm going to be checking out this weapon and just seeing what I can automatically discern about it, what it is, how it functions, things of that nature.
All right, I'm gonna roll a dice here to see how well you do with that. Surprisingly well. Okay, Mike, it's sort of a challenge getting this thing to open up, see what sort of cartridge supposedly this might have. But you managed to press a button near where you think the handle is. It sort of folds outward a little bit, but not all the way. And the central thing in the middle, behind the teardrop-shaped piece of gold, just there, it's this weird, roughly circular thing. It reminds you of the revolver, like the damn, what's it called? The part of the revolver that spins and holds bullets.
Cylinder.
Yeah, cylinder.
Yeah, that. It reminds you of that. Of course, it's not shaped like a cylinder. Everything has to be weird in this place.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you manage to sort of. It pops out to the side a little bit when you manage to make the gun crack in half. And you manage to pull out that cylinder, and you have no idea how the hell this works. Not really, but you assume that these cylinder things contain whatever this gun fires. And, yeah, you assume you'll be able to learn more at the quote-unquote Dokrai. So,
So basically, from an engineering standpoint, this is a stock standard weapon, ammo counter, everything else like that. It's not powered by some magical means. I don't have to piss on it to make it work. It requires ammo, and yeah, it's just very fucking weirdly designed.
pretty much, yeah. As far as you can surmise, yes, it works via ammo and not energy fields from the sun or some shit.
Yeah, probably you can tell that most of the apparatus on this is designed for aesthetics and not actual function. And the only things that actually function on this are the trigger mechanism and the cylindrical ammo counter, as well as the firing apparatus, which seems to be the teardrop-shaped thing. But all that not being said, it is a weapon designed more on aesthetics than actual function. Good. Engineering degree over. Yay.
So, Rako, you lead the group to the Dokrai. And when you all arrive there, you see this. As you enter this room, it's very circular. Mike, you're beginning to notice that a lot of the ceilings in this place are very, very high, to the point that it strikes you as a waste of space. But yes, this is essentially the gist of what you will see when you enter the Dokrai. Rako, you know how this works. It's not that hard. The rest of you have no idea what the hell you're looking at. There appears to be gantries where spectators can watch, and there's no firing range that you can discern. It's just a giant circular space in the middle of the room. What do you all do?
This is a fighting pit, isn't it?
Rako, you sort of think to yourself, and it sort of is a little bit, but that's not all it is. And I mean, you've been to places like this on Covenant ships a lot, right? So, do you want to show the humans how this works?
Yep, Rico will head over to the equivalent of like a control panel or whatever, and just simply pull up a very simple training program involving a small group of grunts and maybe one holographic brute among the holographic grunt targets.
All right. Rako, as you step forward, you will notice the circular platform in the middle of the chamber. It's framed by these symmetrical sort of raised half-wall things that come up to your chest, Mike, and your waist, Alf. And Rako sort of walks up to one end of these half-wall things, and the apparatus just opens up as he nears to it. And it's a computer. And Rako, you of course type a bit on the computer, standard, Ungoi, 10 Ungoi brutes, one brute. Basic environment? Yeah, basic environment. And so you all watch as the giant light in the center of the ceiling up above changes color, and all of a sudden, what most of you surmise to be holograms appear on the center of the fighting area, you assume. It's where the holograms show up. And Rako, you realize, oh wait, it would be a bad idea to use real weapons on holographic targets. And you type some more on the computer, and on the floor, near to where you all are, and near to where you all are, appear weapons. Specifically a concussion rifle, like yours, Mike. And Rako, you realize you have to inform them, hey, wait, this place, you're not supposed to use live weapons here, you're supposed to use holographic ones.
Before any of you start shooting, please switch out your real armed weapons with these practice dummy, I believe the word is dummy, weapons. You will fire holographic equivalent rounds at the target, so we do not accidentally hurt one another, and I do not get yelled at by the shipmaster or the Lifeweaver Hurrikrok for having more medical patients in his medical bay.
Hunter will take one of these practice weapons and very reluctantly put his assault rifle on wherever the fake weapons were.
Oh, you can maglock it to your armor.
Oh, yeah.
All
He'll
right.
just put it on his back in that case. Doesn't trust him.
Time to play a game. Put the concussion rifle down, pick up the fake concussion rifle, and, yeah.
Alrighty then. How many of you are joining in on this?
Kevin will join.
Rico should probably be in there, so he'll grab a practice carbine and maglock both his plasma rifle and energy sword firmly to his hips, so they cannot fall off during the practice round.
Alright. So all of you. Alf included. Real quick, Arsharam, I assumed you wouldn't be here. Where are you right now?
Honestly, if I heard that all of the humans had gathered in one place, I would come running.
Heard from whom, though?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Heard from whom?
I'll be honest, I don't actually know. I can't think of a particular reason off the top of my head, save that Arsham would probably hang around the humans as much as possible, and given the timeline, that it doesn't seem to be too far along from when we last left off, there's a decent chance that he'd be nearby.
Yeah, alright. None of you know where the hunter has gone, by the way. He seems to have disappeared somewhere. So, Arsharam, you enter the Dokrai. You've been on places sort of similar to this, although on the ships you served on, they were a bit more rustic, shall we say. You mostly served with Jeralhane crew, so the use of holograms wasn't very popular on those ships. So you enter the Dokrai, Arsharam, and you see all the humans and Rako preparing to use the holographic arena system. So, what do?
Join them. There are a few finer methods for building comradeship than the wanton slaughter of admittedly holographic enemies. This I have learned from long experience among the Jiralhane.
You begin to walk up to them, up to the group, although you realize the holographic projection systems can only handle 5 people at a time. So, and there's already 5.
Then I shall wait on the sidelines. In either case, here is an opportunity to observe the famous demons in action properly, and to get a feel for everyone else of the group. It would be foolish to pass it up.
I see. So, you use your anti-gravity belt to sort of float upward onto one of the upper-level gantries and watch from above. And the rest of you, Rako, you lead the way onto the holographic platform in the center of the chamber. You'll be used to this, but as the rest of you step up, you suddenly feel a vertigo in your gut, as all of a sudden you are lifted up off your feet, and
now floating. Yay.
You're sort of surprised that you're not tumbling end over end, but you've lifted like a foot off the ground, all 4 of you, and before anything else can happen, suddenly you're in a completely different place. The walls disappear, the ship disappears, and you're all now on a planet.
Isn't this familiar?
Is it?
No. Jesus.
It's familiar to Rako because he's been in one of these things before. So, you will find yourselves in a forested environment. You all assume that this is a holographic display and that you're all being you're all still in the Dokrai, but it's all holograms, and you're in a forest with massive, somewhat redwood trees, but they're green bark. They have green bark, and the grass is yellow. And it's very weird grass. It's very stringy. It almost looks like hay. But that's where you are. You realize this feels very, very, very real. Even though it's completely fake and it's all holograms. Even the gun in your hands, all four of you, the humans, it feels like a real object. And as you're standing there, you hear this guttural bark from the distance. To you, Mike, it almost sounds like a mix between like a cow and a bear in some of the vids you've watched. And in the far distance, coming around one of the trees is a Jiralhane, what you would recognize as a Jiralhane, Rako, and what the rest of you would know as a brute. Although, Mike, you've never seen one of these before. It looks like a giant monkey. A really big, very, very angry-looking gorilla in blue armor.
Yeah, fuck that. I'm shooting at it.
Hunter immediately opens fire and ducks for some type of cover.
Right. Well, we'll do a bit of a time skip forward, but I'm just gonna roll some dice here again. All right. The way that this goes essentially is that the five of you are in this. What you see, Arsharam, is that the moment the five of them step onto that central spherical or circular platform, they disappear. The entire space in the middle of the chamber sort of becomes consumed in this all-consuming blue light before it then changes, projecting a holographic sort of image of what's going on in a simulation. Like you're looking through the lens of a drone flying nearby them.
I see. I trust these contraptions not as much as first-hand observation, but it will have to suffice.
And so, what essentially happens is, Rako, you last the longest, because you've been in simulations like this before. Alf and Hunter, you do fine. You fire on the enemy, you kill a few of the grunts, quote-unquote. They don't roll over and die, they sort of just disappear once your bullets hit them a bunch. Although, Kevin, you're sort of disoriented from all this, and Mike, your concussion rifle, you didn't realize that this thing that the shots it fires have an arc to it. So you sort of fire all 6 of the rounds in your chamber, and you sort of click, 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 click. Oh shit, this thing's empty. Wait, where's more ammo? I need more ammo. And you're sort of left floundering. But yeah, all the holographic enemies eventually killed, and your feet touch the floor again, and you're back in the Dokrai, the Shadow of Intent.
So a quick question. How did they individually fight then? If you could try and describe to me your general combat ethos.
Hunter is the standard issue Spartan, very tactical, very straight to the point. What do you expect from him?
Taking cover, taking pot shots when you can, maneuvering around, that sort of thing.
Rako would have if he got close enough to the brute, would have pummeled its holographic form in melee combat, purely just out of the hatred he still has of the brutes after what happened on High Charity.
You are very glad that this is a basic simulation, Rako. Otherwise, that probably would have been a lot more difficult to pull off, but you manage it.
Yeah, Mike just fired off all his rounds, figured out that the things had arc to them, and then looked around for a few seconds for a reload, and then just put the concussion rifle on his shoulder and waited.
You are shot at a bunch, actually. When one of the little grunt things, they're the same size as you, so they're not little. One of them managed to fire a pot shot at you, and when it hits you in the chest, you don't feel any pain. You don't feel much of anything, but you feel this weight sort of come down on your head and shoulders, and you're essentially forced to lay down by this invisible force. You sort of think, oh shit, okay, this is happening now. All right, I'm dead, I guess.
Yeah, this is like the 15th, 16th time today I've had something happen that I wasn't exactly approving of.
Slacker, how do you fight, considering that you were very disoriented at the beginning and... Yeah.
Moving cover to cover and firing at all targets.
Alright. You don't quite get any kills, quote-unquote, although you do manage to suppress the brute for a few seconds so that Rako could rush in and get stuck in hand-to-hand. So yeah. When the simulation ends and you're all back in the Dokrai, Mike, you have to stand back up again because you feel the weight sort of release off of you. And that's essentially what happens there. So what do you all do?
Yeah, guy that could, who programmed this?
Yeah.
Can you just program a general thing where it's me and just a rock in the distance and about 10 reloads of this?
I can certainly do that if you wish to practice. Just give you a moment to program it in. The rest of you may talk amongst yourselves as I get the practice rock ready. Something that won't shoot at the human.
Yeah, that would be preferred since I don't have a fucking clue how this thing works.
You're not actually sure what the human means by rock, Rako, but you do pull up a basic target practice simulation for the human to practice with.
And for shits and giggles, you'll also put some non-moving grunts and silly hats there as well.
Mocking me, I say. Nice. Next time we have to do something like, I don't know, defuse a bomb or operate a, Slipspace drive, I'll be sure to throw you in there and put a kazoo on an exhaust port.
Alright. Now, what we're essentially going to do now is a bit of a time skip. This was only the first day of proceedings. And the two Spartans of the group very quickly fall into a routine for the next 11 days. And what they do is the Alf and Hunter will wake up at 6 a.m. and do simulated target practice with various Covenant weapons until noon, and then they spar and/or talk strategy with each other until 5 p.m., and then they spend the rest of the day doing maintenance gear. None of you see these two actually plan this out. They just sort of do it, and that's essentially the way it goes. Now, Mike, you are shown to what are apparently your quarters. There are apparently not very many spaces that are free on this ship. So you sort of just you assume it's sort of you're being shoved into a water closet or just a pantry of some sort.
This
But
is still better than the cryo tube.
Yes, it is. And there's a they managed to find a few weird-looking pillows and a blanket, but it's essentially just a pantry that they found they could spare. Those are your quarters for the next 11 days. Do any of you choose to join the Spartans as they train in the Dokrai?
Absolutely.
I will be, just strictly from a perspective of learning the weapon better, things like that.
Rako will make sure they will all find the mess hall whenever they get hungry and make sure everything runs smoothly relationship-wise.
Is there a goddamn bacon cheeseburger?
There is not.
There are MREs and the coveted equivalent of MREs.
I don't even want to know what that is.
It would be nutrient paste, but thankfully you have some weird alien fruits to spare. They're very, very round, large, and spiky. So that's something to eat, Mike, and the rest of you. In any case, Mike, you join the Spartans for like 2 hours each day in the Dokrai, practicing with your concussion rifle, or the holographic one at any rate. And as you do that, you figure out, oh wait, whenever you go in the simulator, it automatically plants these extra cartridges on your body, like on your belt line. And you, oh shit, okay. It gives me extra ammo. All right, thanks. That's yeah. That's how that works.
Nice.
And you get some good practice with it. And I forgot to describe the way it shoots earlier. When you pull the quote-unquote trigger in the circular hole in the middle of the weapon, it thumps. It's very minimal recoil considering, but it fires this like cantaloupe-sized bright red orb of energy that trails these sparkling crimson and yellow sort of after image trails behind it as it flies forward and with a slight arc. And when it hits something, wow, it's very loud. Even from like 20 meters away, you're pretty sure you feel something like a shockwave just sort of tickle your face whenever you hit a target. And you don't really want to imagine what this would do to a living thing, so you're kind of thankful that the holographic targets the simulation presents just disappear whenever they're quote-unquote killed. Because you can only assume it would shatter every bone in a person's body.
Well, yeah, if you're gonna have something. Yep.
Yep. And so, Arsharam, one day, when you find spare time, you do spend a lot of time sort of milling around the ship and attempting to help people, right?
Good service rewards one with purity, and to set foot upon the Holy Ark, I must be as pure as I can possibly become.
Indeed. You offer all the help you can. You offer to help in the mess hall. Well, it's not called a mess hall. It's called the... It's called the Replenishment Center, oddly enough, which seems rather clinical for Covenant names, but that's what it's called. You offer to help cook the food or make the food, prepare it. You go down to the hangar bay and you offer to help some engineers tweak some of the weapons on the ghosts and phantoms. And you even help a few Ungoi loading up some plasma coils onto a lich. And one of those days, you decide, all right, I want to go see what's happening in the Dokrai and see if I can train with my comrades. You figure. So you go to the Dokrai, and in there, a simulation is ongoing where Alf and Hunter are moving through an urban-ish environment. It's urban by Covenant standards, so it's all purple and bluish and very fancy looking, but they're moving through an urban environment, sort of covering each other as they move through a street and firing at a horde of grunts and jackals. And I'll mention, by the way, Hunter, that you want advice on how to fight brutes. So the first thing you did, like the second day, was ask Alf how to fight brutes, and if you want to play that out, Alf, on Strider.
I'm gonna I zoned out there.
Brutes are famous for their raw physical strength. However, they're very ill-tempered. Make one angry, and he'll become unfocused. However, this is dangerous, as when they're enraged, their strength goes up greatly, allowing them to more easily crush a human or anything that gets in their way. Best advice I can give: bait one into a charge, sidestep it, and try to aim for its limbs. Crip as best you can.
Yeah. Hunter was asking Alf for advice, but we'll just assume that's the gist of what Alf says.
I thought Knight was also asking for advice on fighting brutes.
Nah.
I'm deaf, motherfucker.
Well,
So I'm not the only one who doesn't pay attention.
Well, actually, Mike, would you have asked how to fight whatever it is you'll be going up against?
Oh, I'm pretty much asking how to fight every fucking thing at this point.
Sounds like Arshram could step in to be a motivational poster.
Oh, please, goddamn no.
Oh, God, no.
In any case, we move back to Arshram as he one day goes into the Dokrai and finds Alf and Strider running a simulation. The simulation ends, and of course, the two demons perform very well. And now, Arshram, you have your opportunity.
So, very well. First, one must, before entering the simulation, observe how the two demons work together. Arshram has heard that demons prefer to work alone, or if multiple are concentrated in one zone, each cover their own separate engagements. He's never seen two of them directly coordinate upon a battlefield before.
Yes, as you are watching the simulation around halfway through it, you notice they never speak to each other. They seem to almost act completely just without barely the need for giving each other hand signals or anything. They just sort of do it. And they don't screw up at all. They don't make any mistakes. They cover each other's flanks perfectly. They coordinate fire on hard targets pretty much as well as you can expect. It's overall very, very impressive, you have to say.
An enviable show of cooperation, Arshram wishes that his own attempts at comradeship with both temporary fire teams and his prelate brothers could be as successful. Unfortunately, he must make do with language and hand sign alone.
Yes.
And with that in mind, it is time to enter the simulation.
Well, the simulation has just ended as the two demons step out of it.
Rako will happily program a new simulation if required. He's just mostly there keeping an eye on the humans and making sure they don't accidentally break something.
Right. Rako, on the occasions where Mike or Kevin comes into the Dokrai, you keep track of them just fine, but they sort of disappear the moment you don't have your eyes on them. Makes it very difficult to be a liaison, but you don't hear of anything going wrong in other parts of the ship, so you assume they're on the best behavior.
Yeah. As long as Rako is not being yelled at by the shipmaster or a superior officer, he's just going to safely assume that he is not in any kind of active trouble.
Yes, you surmise that the demons are the more important part to keep track of anyway.
As he sees this metal thing, he's not entirely still sure what this... He's not sure what a predator is, but he still doesn't outright trust it. He's not even sure it's fully organic, and kind of glares at him.
Alright. As the two demons are stepping off the central platform, you walk up to them, Al-Sharam. And what do you wish to do? Are you there to spar with them? Are you there to do target practice?
Well, my first interaction would be well met, Spartans. It's a word he's unfamiliar with, but he tries to be as polite as he knows.
Do you require any assistance?
I too am unfamiliar with these holographic simulators. How would you compare them to your experiences in live battle? And battle you have seen indeed, I can tell.
Scarily.
Yeah, Hunter. This prelate person is... He's taller than Alf. This San Shayum guy, he's like half a head taller than Alf. So that makes him like 2 heads taller than you.
Keeping that in mind. Hunter will also add, though I prefer actual physical targets.
Does Alf have any particular response?
Not really.
Alf stays silent. He just shrugs, really. And so, what next, Al-Sharam?
Well, this is a perfect occasion. If they wish for a live target, Ashram is happy to volunteer himself.
Are you?
He has no illusions as to the fact that either Spartan can destroy him in single combat, for his strengths lie not in that area. But he hopes to at least gain some measure of insight into their character. It is often said by the Sanghili that one can determine the essence of their opponent from the way they fight, especially in single combat.
Rako, you, from your experience in these simulators, it's kind of clunky and inconvenient for 2 real people to use the simulated weapons against each other. In your experience, it's rather irritating, really. And you often find it's simply better to either spar or work together against simulated enemies.
You two could spar, or I could set up a few fights with brutes and chieftains, or if you would prefer, we can try to move on to dealing with the parasite. I dread if we ever have to encounter it on such a holy site that we're heading to.
Just in case, a simulation with the flood would make sense in the possibility.
Has anybody told Mike about the flood yet?
Such impure creatures could never hope to touch the holy ring forger. It would scour their existence from the universe with its divine fury.
Funny, I recall hearing several Covenant officers say the same thing about High Charity. And look what happened.
You believe High Charity was pure, demon?
You sure? A lot of you Coveys sure treated it like it was pure.
It is to my eternal shame that I must confess myself among their number.
If I recall, wasn't the Spartan encountered on your holy rooms?
Alf, your mic is screwing up again. Repeat that.
That's better. Meh.
Okay. What was that?
You want me to repeat what I said?
Yes.
Wasn't the... Darn it. I hate this button. Wasn't the flood encountered on your holy rings?
As the larger Spartan or demon speaks, Arsharam, his voice is kind of... It's not what you expected to hear, but that's his voice, you guess.
Arsharam does not know much about the exact details of what happened upon the rings, merely that twice impure Covenant forces attempted to seize them, and twice they were destroyed or forcibly kicked off. He knows not how the enemy found its way upon them, but reasons it must have been due to the sins of those who brought them there.
Is that what you say to the two before you?
I would say, if the enemy was upon those rings, it is because we brought them there. The impurity lies within us, not the glory of the Forerunners.
Hunter just rolls his eyes behind his visor, thanking whoever built his helmet, that people can't see his eyes through it, and while he wants to shake his head, he doesn't shake his head.
Kevin shakes his head.
Kevin is watching from the sidelines.
Kevin is indeed watching.
What would Kevin have been doing for the past 2 days, as it's...
He's gone from combat zone to combat zone, and he's just relaxing. This is like the first real sleep he's ever gotten.
Ah, of course. Sleeping when you're dead is a bit of a hollow statement now, isn't it? We'll say that you mostly spent your time sort of lounging around the nature preserves when you're not in here.
That's right.
So essentially what happens now is, after some conversation as to how precisely the simulator works and what would be convenient, it's eventually decided that the prelate and the Spartans will spar. One at a time, of course. And how do you decide which Spartan spars with Arsharam first?
Suppose
I
volunteer.
am happy to face either, so long as I have an opportunity to face both.
He can go first.
All right.
All right. So, Arsharam and Hunter, the prelate and the Spartan 3, you both step up onto the central circular platform and you square off. And just before we begin, we will take a break.
I need to go take a piss.
Okay.
I'm gonna go get
So we'll pause the recording here and start up again when we're ready.
Sounds good. Pausing.